What would you say were the biggest results that we achieved together?
I mean, obviously landing the client and whoever else, those were big results, but really like the business owner mindset, I think was one that was helpful for me to keep getting drilled into my head. Probably building my self-esteem up in a sense. Not that I
Mm,
don't have self-esteem, but it's like I had a low business self-esteem
yes,
where I kind of just
great distinction.
starting to learn how to value me and my time and my team's time was helpful. Being a little clearer and more precise with things, I think, is something you helped me with. So that was like a big win. Honestly, the biggest thing was probably learning to slow down. That was really, really.
Are you tired of struggling as an online coach, even though you're doing everything right? Do you want to exponentially increase your income and impact so you can finally buy that new car, so you can feel confident and free without ever feeling like an imposter? Do you want high-paying clients to chase you instead of you chasing them? If that's you, then this channel is for you. We're here with Josip Zirdim, and he's been a client for a few months now, a couple of months, like 9.
In a while.
Actually,
Yeah,
not
about there.
how many
No,
how many months do we
six,
have?
7, 8.
6 months, right? Like
Yeah,
something like that.
6, I think is
Awesome.
right.
So like when we started working together, you had some challenges with your team. You were kind of looking to optimize the team, but then we found out that maybe actually some mindset training in terms of sales and landing clients would also be useful. Right.
Mhm.
So what was your experience like working together?
Um, Early on was a little different. Early on, it was really about leadership and communicating with my team. That was something that you were helping me with there. And then, how would I put it? It was just different ways of kind of approaching situations, even if they were like obvious things. It's just trying um, maybe your suggestions or collaborative suggestions was good. And then we
Mhm.
also had some group sessions, which got some really good things out of it.
Yeah.
But we moved on from that team. I dropped 2 of them. And that took actually a little while. And that was a really difficult few months.
Yeah.
And actually, I think your value came in actually more after they left. Not necessarily that there wasn't value
Yeah.
prior. It's just that's when I think I had my biggest mindset blocks.
Yes.
So I lost the 2 of them, and I felt very much like I didn't want to build a team again. And I didn't even really recognize it. Like I knew mentally I had to and I wanted to,
Hmm.
but I didn't want to take any step in towards building another team because I didn't want to have to deal with the drama that came with it. But
Yeah.
the reason the drama came with it was one, they were friends first. 2, they weren't very disciplined people. 3, my communication probably could have been better, and just my general leadership. So it's kind of like a culmination of everything. Like I kind of feel like I started a seed with certain people, and then like early on, and maybe it was like those smaller mistakes that actually built into something much bigger, which caused a
Yeah.
lot of the tension. So like my hope is now to kind of take that, um,
Hmm.
well, those learnings and then apply it to like whoever else I'm working with. But also, I think there was, conflicting problems with the personality types and things like that, that ultimately meant we couldn't work together.
Yeah. 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 I agree. I agree. And like for people tuning in, you're a marketing expert, you're a branding expert, and you own the biggest publication in Australia on cannabis, right? So these are big achievements. You're obviously a high performer. Um, our work together wasn't necessarily about you kind of taking more action. You were already doing a lot of that. From looking back, the work was really you being okay with respecting yourself as a
Yeah.
business owner and as a leader, and setting some standards for your team that wouldn't be just brushed to the side whenever you had something important to do. And that's not easy, like for any leader or any business owner to kind of admit that, hey, maybe I don't have the best people in my team. Maybe my team isn't necessarily aligned with my vision or my standards, and it's painful, right? It's natural.
Yeah. The hardest thing I think that I have found as being a business owner is really working with your team and creating your team and learning how to communicate with them. Like
Mm,
that's something nothing I think prepares you for. And I think that's why they say it's like to learn business, you got to be in business. You can't study it out of a book. You can't go to
yeah,
university.
for
None of that
sure.
will teach you actually how to build a business. One thing
I,
I was actually talking about this with a friend. It's actually a pretty good thing. I don't know if you ever did like any course work where you had to do a group assignment, but it's like, did a group assignment ever, like, and I mean ever, actually go well for someone? And it never does because, oh no, that person was lazy. That person didn't give us what we needed.
yeah.
So we had to fill it. It never, ever works. And it's like, you think it's different in business. It's even worse.
But the difference is like in the group, you're kind of assigned to a group of people, but as a business owner, you get to
You could
choose
choose.
who's in your
Yes.
group, right?
Yeah. So even like at university, technically you get to choose
Mhm.
maybe, but you know it's only based off of what you know of these people.
Yep.
It could be you've known them for a day, you could know them for maybe a few months or a year or something, but still you really don't know them.
Yeah.
And then in business, even when you've known people, I actually think it like the whole don't work with friends. Like so many people told me that when I started, and like I had that advice given to me my whole life, and I think it's kind of true, but I also think it's kind of bullshit, which is really frustrating. It really depends on the friends,
Yes.
you
It's
know.
like I think it's really important to have that distinction of it's not don't work with friends, don't work with friends who are not in alignment with your
Yeah,
values, right? Because you are working
yeah,
with a friend and you guys are doing an exceptional job because you're aligned, right? With like
yes,
Mitch
yeah,
is
yeah,
totally on board,
exactly.
right? So
Hmm.
you had your your teammates leave, which for me was really good news back when you told me. I kind of helped you kind of shift the perspective and see
Yeah,
the good in it. But then you kind of went into a slump and you felt really weird. You weren't getting any more clients, and you were kind of at the verge of struggling financially. And then a few weeks later, to be precise, kind of I think 4 or 6 weeks later, you landed a client that like a 23K Australian dollar client. That translates into roughly what, $16,000 in US,
maybe a little more,
something like that. 16,
like
17,
18. Yeah.
$18,000 in
Yeah.
US, right? So tell me a bit about that. Like, what do you like looking back? What do you feel were the insights that kind of helped you get out of that slump and start making offers again and getting this client, which of course is out of your comfort zone right now, but it's helping you grow exponentially already.
Mm. um hmm. Getting out of the slump was hard,
Yeah.
like very mentally exhausting, because also at the time I had moved home. So like moving into a whole new house and a whole new environment, that just added to, I guess, more chaos, stress, anxiety, because it's just foreign. So I'm again like I put myself out of comfort zone even further.
Yeah.
So that's what made that hard. So there was a bit of time where I needed to actually adjust into that. So I think that was really important, firstly. Second, I think learning that you know, I don't know. Actually no, it was probably the team member thing. It was when I started to my biggest thing was I started to realize I'm going to be overwhelmed. If I take on clients, I'm going to get overwhelmed.
Hmm.
So then I had to start thinking more like a business owner, is kind of what you went on. And it's like, of course, that's the case. But to put that in a perspective of like, how do I take away what I need to do and hire people?
Yeah.
And what was frustrating is because my finances were quite low, um, it was very hard to even want to justify hiring someone local because I honestly couldn't really afford it. If I could, maybe.
Right.
But then, of course, you can outsource. And I've had good, bad, okay experiences with outsourcing. But um, then I talked to one of my other mentors, and he really put in like, going and looking for a VA in the Philippines. And then you did the same thing. And then we started talking about that. And then that kind of let me see, okay, if I can teach someone who's willing to be taught how to do what they should do, it's easy to kind of get them to do that. And
Right.
that's what I found when I hired the VA. So, but that came a little later. But knowing that that was like an availability and an option, that was good.
Mhm.
Also, knowing that I think it was kind of the case of not giving up and like, no, actually, not even not giving up. Sorry, that's not the right way to put it. Not giving a shit really. Like whether I deliver or I don't, like there's no real big consequence around it.
Yeah.
There's a shot to my ego, I suppose, and there's maybe a bit of reputation that could be screwy.
Mhm.
But in the grand scheme of things, if I can't deliver, and even if the other thing is when I say I can't deliver, it's not that I can't deliver. It's more like if I can't deliver to the standard that the client was hoping for versus what mine is.
Mhm.
But see, I've put my standard probably higher than what the client's
Yes.
expecting.
Yes.
So
You do have a case of perfectionism that
hitting
kind of
my-
shows up.
I don't call it perfectionism. I just call it's what should be done. Like I don't want to give anything less than the best.
Yeah.
And some people you could call it perfect. And I'm like, I accept it not being perfect, but I don't accept it being anything less than the best.
Yeah.
Like there's a difference between perfect and best. So for me, if I have a client that's willing to pay me quite a large amount of money, I want to give them more than what they're paying for, firstly.
So let's get back to that. Like, what do you think helped you land this client?
One, I was already in, I already talked to them before. So that was a big help. So they were actually a previous client and we kind of failed them a little bit because the team wasn't performing for them. So now I've lost the team, and that's kind of that's what made this whole thing extra challenging for me, because it's like I already kind of failed this client once, and I failed them partly because at the time they were kind of unorganized, I was kind of unorganized, and I was moving,
right?
And also COVID happened, so it was just a mess of shit. And then they kind of came back to me and they were like, we're keen to go. But then I kind of had learned more along the way, and I actually just, I don't know, I had the confidence to deliver more because I just kind of planned out what I needed to do in steps.
Yes.
So, we went through and kind of figured out what did we need to do for this client and broke it down into the simplest kind of ways to describe what's being done. And then that made me go, well, I could probably deliver that.
Yes.
So that confidence boost came across. And then the client also having a massive liking to me. I think that's also a really big thing. Like I've built very strong personal relationships with people when I do sales. So I don't really even care about the sale most of the time when I'm communicating. And that was something that you also put into me. It's like, don't really stress that you, what's the words?
Make the sale or not.
Don't be afraid of the rejection.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like don't go in with the mindset that you need to or anything.
That's
my mindset when I kind of come in is I just want to know about them, what they need and what's going on, and where I can maybe help.
Yeah.
Like all I'm looking for is that conversation about them, really. And from there, I don't know, my meetings, you could call them 30-minute meetings. They'll go for an hour because they're almost always in tangents.
Of course.
Because the way my brain works is, thought about a thing. Let me explain this thing, but I have to explain 4 other things to actually get you to understand that thing. And then suddenly you've got what I've got, but I need to find people like that are willing to work with how I think. And these clients happen to align with that. So I think that was also why. And I also was completely honest with these clients. That's actually probably one of the other things.
Very important. Yeah, like being super honest about what you can do and what you cannot do. And people really appreciate that. I remember something that we were coaching on, like when you started making offers again and you started feeling a lot more confident about yourself, about, building a team again. You overcame that fear of, oh my God, I'm going to build a team and then I'm going to struggle with the same challenges that I struggled with before. And when you started making offers again, I remember saying to you, like, you know what, stop celebrating making the sale, just celebrate making the offer. Like, great, you know, you booked a call, they didn't show up. Great, right? That's progress. They're gonna show up later, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you're gonna have more and more conversations that way, and you're just gonna be fueled by the fact that, hey, I'm just having conversations, I'm just talking to these people, doesn't matter if they buy or not, because I know that by having these conversations, guess what? They're gonna buy. And if I would have told you then, hey, keep going because you're gonna close a 20K deal, you'd have been like, yo, shut up.
Mm. It was just, it was good timing of how it all aligned. And what was
Yep.
kind of strange is I had a few smaller deals before that one too,
Yep.
which helped me kind of just push along a little bit, and that kept me alive. And then the big one came, and that was great.
And
And since then, like,
you told me that you started some conversation this week
mhm.
for what were the offers? What's the offers that you're going to be making this week?
One's 3K a month, minimum 3 months, but realistically, if they're happy with it, it should go for 6 to 12 months, really, even
Yeah.
longer.
And they probably will be happy
They
with
also
it.
have an offer of 1.5K. Yeah, they're a medical cannabis clinic, so they align completely with me.
With your vision. Yeah.
Really good people.
Love it.
Yeah, it's just it's the perfect kind of space for me to really do what I want to do. And then the other one, I haven't actually put it together yet. I've had the conversation. They're pretty eager. I just got to kind of put them what I want to offer them. And it's probably going to be either a 2 to 4K deal or a 10 to 20, something like that. It sounds
That's a big
kind of
difference,
strange
right?
when you put it that way.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm gonna really be trying to upsell them on the bigger one, because the smaller one is kind of bare basics,
Yeah.
and they'll get a result, but they won't grow how they're thinking they want to grow.
Yeah. Yeah.
And they're a hydroponic store, which again aligns with what I'm into.
And you always want to start the
So
conversation with like the bigger offer. And if they're like, yeah, that's great, but we can't really fit that in our budget, then you can say, hey, you know what? Actually, we have this smaller offer that will
yeah,
help you get some results.
yeah. What's cool about, while I've had kind of some downtime, it's let me like really sit back and reflect. So last week I was sick for a week. I was stressed out, run down, overworked by that point, and it just immune system must have dropped. And I just
Yeah.
had such a busy weekend. But it let me kind of sit back and kind of look at the business as the business. And I found, I actually had some advertisements of other competitors and stuff hit me, and I started looking, and I'm like, oh, okay, that's how they're kind of promoting their things. And what I actually kind of found was there's a few companies now that are doing pay by the week rather than a monthly or a
Sure.
one time or 50%.
Yeah.
And I never really thought about the pay by the week. And it's let me completely reimagine how I'm going to be offering my services to people.
Yeah.
And
It's a good idea.
interesting because sometimes it's like, one of the things I learned this from you as well. It's like sometimes the most work comes when I'm not working, where thoughts are able to come in and I'm able to really dissect things. And then when I start working, I can kind of figure that all out.
Yeah.
But I need that kind of downtime, and that was probably the most beneficial thing I think we've had.
Yeah.
Talking about,
That's like,
before I was working,
that's also something I wanted to kind of
12 to 16 hours days.
And that's something I want to kind of remind you as well, because we before starting this recording, we actually had a quick chat. Something that I learned from another coach that's much more experienced than I am. It's so powerful to slow down so you can speed up. So if you feel you're exhausted, if you feel like probably 80% of what you're doing is not necessarily giving you the results that you want. It's literally the 20% that's giving you all the margins, all the, So if you honestly take a look at your day and you look at what you're doing, you're probably going to cross off most of the stuff that you're doing. You're going to have more time to kind of, rest, think, just like you mentioned before. And that downtime of resting and thinking, that's going to give you exponential growth. Not necessarily more work.
Yeah, I think hustle culture kind of took my mind over for a good
Of
bloody
course,
2 years, really.
you have to
Um,
use that up until a certain level, but after you've reached that certain level, it's really detrimental. That mindset is literally detrimental to your progress. So right now you kind of reach the point where you have to switch things up and kind of be a bit more lazy, if you like, because laziness will give you the
yeah.
money.
Well, what's difficult is because we're in December, we're coming into the new year. All the people that I'm working with, they want things now and they want things ready for the new year. It's just like demand is just through the roof. And suddenly you're like, fuck, okay. And then you try and keep up with that. Plus, also, you're busy because it's December and then there's family events, friend events. And it's
Yeah.
just so it becomes such a busy period. It's really hard to even slow down. And I got forced into it. I woke up and basically had lost my voice.
Yeah, yeah. I didn't
So that
say
was that was
I didn't say it was going to be easy to slow down. I just said that you can do it, and it's going to
yeah,
be probably better for you.
definitely can. And like
Lovely.
after I moved, because my office used to be kind of in my bedroom, like where I worked. It's like having an office space that's just a room dedicated to work.
Yeah,
That changed a
everything
mindset almost more than anything else.
for sure.
Being able to, my girlfriend explained it as you can finally close the door on work. Um, and just kind of learning that sort of stuff. And I think that was something probably more powerful than anything else. It's like
Yep.
really trying to learn how to switch off again because I went 2 years without playing video games. I went 2 years without watching TV. I worked, I programmed, I worked a full-time job, came home, worked some more, hustled some more, went to
I am.
sleep, did it again and again and again. And the only time I actually gave myself time was when I was going to concerts.
What got you here won't get you there, right?
So
So what's next for you? What's
yeah.
there for you right now?
Well, I've got a few things to do for my clients in the next week and a half or so. And then I'm kind of on a holiday for about 3 weeks.
Hmm.
And during that holiday, I am looking to make a kind of video similar to what you've been doing with your YouTube sort of stuff. I just wanted to
Love
do
it.
a personal reflection on my year. And I
Hmm.
kind of wrote out like a list of just everything I've done. Like for reference, I ran for government this year. I quit my job this
Congrats.
year. Like I've had a lot of pretty crazy things happening. So I've
Hmm.
written out a list and there's fucking like 20 things on there, maybe more of like significant things I've done.
Yeah.
So I really wanted to just make a video that goes for maybe 15 to 30 minutes. That's me reflecting on it and just reflecting on the year as a whole, what I've learned,
Mhm.
what I kind of want to improve on. And then I might release it publicly and might not. I'm not sure. I haven't really decided on how I want to use
That's
it.
that's going to be
It's
extremely beneficial for you. I wouldn't necessarily wait until like the year ends. I think right
no,
now
no,
where
no,
you
no,
are,
no. I'm already working on it. It's
love
I'm
it.
kind of I've written out that list and now I'm trying to write like a little more elaborate on it and kind of
Hmm.
build out that script and then, sit and start talking into a camera and kind of reflecting.
And you started already hiring people for your team, right?
Yeah, I've got my main team member, Mitch. So he
Yeah.
lives with me and we work together. I've got a VA and then I've got a web developer that I've put on as well
Hmm.
last week, which is going maybe well, maybe not. We'll see. He works differently to how I work, so it's learning that. That's
Yeah.
kind of strange. And I've also got an application that's running, and I've had like I don't know about 100 something applicants, which is fucking crazy for lead generation and SEO. So that's for a client that I might be taking on board, and that's going to be really fun because I'm going to be able to use that employee to also leverage for my own activities while leveraging it for the clients. And really, I didn't really mention this in this, but I'm only trying to build this business, my marketing business, to really just funnel it so I can do what I want to do on my other business.
Yeah.
I'm not someone that's trying to make $1 million, or maybe I am, but like
Yeah.
on just
What's
this
wrong with
one
that?
digital agency. I'm just not looking for, I'm not in the mindset of I need this to be my bread and butter. I've
Hmm.
got it more that this is going to be my foundation for my bread and butter.
Yes.
Um, and that's, I think, something that I clarified in my head with you as well. It's like, this is only just a stepping piece to actually what I'm wanting to do.
So what would you say were the biggest results that we achieved together?
this year. Um, hmm. I would say, I mean, obviously landing the client and whoever else, those were big results, but really like the business owner mindset, I think was one that was helpful for me to keep getting drilled into my head.
Yep.
Um, Probably building my self-esteem up in a sense. Not that I
Mm,
don't have self-esteem, but it's like I have I had a low business self-esteem
yes.
where I kind of just
Great distinction.
bent over to everyone, like, because fundamentally I'm a person who just likes to help people,
Yep.
and in business that's ultimately all you're doing, but the problem is people take advantage of that. So starting to learn how to value me and my time and my team's time was helpful, and I still struggle with it, to be honest. There's sometimes it's like I really should be saying more towards clients than I am letting on, like ones who are like just fucking me around.
Yep.
And but as time's gone on, I've gotten, I guess, way less tolerant to bullshit. And I think that's something you've kind of helped me with.
Hmm.
Being a little clearer and more precise with things, I think, is something you helped me with. So that was like a big win. Honestly, the biggest thing was probably learning to slow down. That was really,
Yeah.
really challenging. And it still is. Like, if like last week and I'm sick for a week, being able to switch off for a week was fucking impossible.
Yeah.
Like,
I asked my dad, like, he was, he came to visit and they came for like a week, and my dad was just like restless. And we're sitting down at the, dining room table, the living room table, and I asked him, what's the hardest thing for an entrepreneur? And he looks at me, he says, I don't know, doing nothing.
yeah, yeah. I was very okay with doing nothing maybe 3 years ago,
Yes.
three or so. Like, it's really funny how like that quickly shifted. And it's not that I even was okay with doing nothing. It's I was just okay with doing mediocre.
Yeah.
And now, like, I don't know where it was. It was probably like a mixture of Gary Vee videos, some motivational things, and also just realizing that I fucking hate working for someone.
Yeah.
That motivated me to like, well, this is what I need to do. And then when I started, like, I can't even explain how many fucking things I've done in the last 3 years. Like, and if I wasn't on this kind of entrepreneurial business sort of journey, I don't even know what I'd be doing with myself. Like, I'd be playing games and
I know what you mean. Yeah.
like, fuck, what do normal people do? That's what I'd be doing. And I fucking
Yeah.
don't understand it at all anymore. I've detached myself, like I've disassociated myself with that so heavily that it's now hard to come back to.
Yeah.
Like sitting and watching TV, like thinking, oh yeah, maybe I could do
Another,
this and this.
like, one of the principles of the business owner mindset is doing something uncomfortable every day. And for you right now, the most uncomfortable thing to do is just to give yourself time to do nothing, to think, right?
Mm,
Um,
some degree, yeah,
yeah.
definitely. And I've been trying to work in more meditation and all of that, but when things are going, it's so hard to slow down. Like,
You have to systemize it, right?
yep.
It's like,
Like I put it in. I put
yeah,
like I have it in my calendar, and that helps a little. But sometimes that meeting goes a little longer, or you get some emails as important shit you got to take care of. Someone calls, and it's like really having that time to set aside is tough. So I've been really, really trying in the mornings to kind of
good.
go for a walk, have a meditation in the park, or just that kind of vibe. And me and my girlfriend have been doing that, and that's been really helpful. This week
Yeah.
actually is when we've
Yeah.
really been focused on like every day, because my head was just, I would wake up and it would just be like boom 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 boom, and normally I would wake up and things would be slow, but
Yeah.
because this time of year it's so fast, I needed that time.
Exactly. This is like, that's like when you're busy, that's the most important time, when you have to do nothing. That's really the most important time, because you need to show up at your best, and you're not going to show up at your best without that downtime, right? Without actually getting some
Yeah.
rest, without clearing your head. It's literally impossible.
Mhm.
Awesome. Well done. Very, very proud of your progress. We're going to be focusing on getting more amazing team members on in your business, and allowing you to have a bit more space, a bit more freedom. We're going to systemize kind of an incentive for the team so that they kind of become self. We're going to talk about that more in detail, but the idea is basically to create a team that's kind of self-sustaining and self-motivating. I'm going to share with you like the systems of how you can actually do that and how you can achieve that. And yeah, finalize the foundation for this business so that you can fully step into that other business, the business of your dreams. We're not going to dive too deep into that because maybe YouTube doesn't allow us. Spoiler, it has to do with plants, right? It has to do with legalizing some plants in Australia, which is a huge vision of yours that I'm sure you're going to make it happen, because like I told you before, if there's somebody who can make it happen, that's you and Mitch. So it's going to be fun.
Yeah, it's an exciting time. And like, I thought 2020 was going to be my year. Like, I really, really did. I was like, this is the year I'm going to make fucking stacks of cash. This is the year I'm going to, you know, just, I quit.
Yeah.
It's the year I quit my job. So it's like, I'm going to fucking do it all. Da, 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 da. And to be honest, it was more punches to my face than I think anything else in my life.
Like anything,
But
right?
I'm so much more motivated for the next year
It's like
that
right?
it's just like I could.
You start,
Well, actually, I'll put it this way. This is what's interesting.
yeah,
The client that I landed, the big client, I got them at the start of the year and it was a disaster. And now I've got them at the end of this year, going into the next. And it's like,
crazy,
I've
right?
got all the things that I've learned in between. And now it's like, I get to try again. And the reason that this client's such a big deal is they're a financial services company where they help people with financial planning, advisory, mortgages, like the whole shebang, wealth management, everything.
Yep.
So it's like I'm in the room with, millionaires who have built giant businesses and have had massive success, and they help people build their wealth. I
Yep.
couldn't be in a better room. And so my expectations of what I want to give them is just so high because I know these people could be friends for life that will help me on my own journey. So, I feel blessed to have the opportunity again to try.
Yeah.
And I think that's reality saying it's like, this is something for you. You're being given this again. Like it's weird when you're given things a second time.
It's like, you step into a boxing gym and you say, this year I'm going to become a champion. I'm going to become a national champion. Of course, you're going to get, the shit kicked out of you initially. And it's like, you got a chance to box with the national champion in the beginning of your journey and you got your ass kicked. And now it's like, I gained so much more experience and now you're boxing with that champion and you're winning, right? So it's natural, right? Everybody wants to
Well,
be the champion, but
we'll see how we go.
trust in yourself, be free of the
I have the
outcome,
trust.
right? Be okay with failing
I
because there's
my
no way.
biggest belief is my biggest thing is I think I will probably have some failures with this client, but I think they're committed enough to me to get through whatever those little failures are that will actually get to where we need to at the end because
Yeah,
I've built that trust. And I think that's probably the biggest thing I've taken away from working with them. It's, they didn't pick me because of my skills. They picked me because of who I am rather
absolutely.
than what I can do. And I think
Absolutely.
that's a really different shift just to even understand that someone would pick you just for who you are rather than what you can do for them.
I mean, you hire people like that right now, right? That you haven't hired them for their skills. You've hired them for who they are and who they can be, right? That's the same with your client and yourself, right? Yeah, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Love it. Thank you for your time.
Cool.
We'll
Sounds good.
continue playing around with this mindset stuff, with this business stuff, and impacting a lot of people. Well done.